Hello students, today we're going to talk about Unit 20, Obligations and Requirements. Before the lesson, I want you to take out your grammar book and turn to page 203. You can also take out your notebook and the stationery you need to drop down some notes. Now, are you ready? Let's go! First, I will tell you what is obligation and requirement. Then we'll go through Unit 20.1 modal verbs must and have to. Next, we'll do a practice. At last, we'll make a brief conclusion. First of all, what is obligation? Obligation is the state of being forced to do something because it is a law, rule, duty, etc. Below, there are 3 examples of obligation. The first one is a law. You have to fasten your seatbelt when you drive. The second one is a rule. You must raise your hand to speak in class. The last one is a duty. Students must submit their homework on time every day. The characters in these 3 pictures have the state of being forced to do something, and we call it obligation. Next, what is requirement? Requirement is something that is needed or necessary to do. We call it a necessity. For example, the deadline of the project is tomorrow. I think we have to hurry up, said the students. In here, the students think it is important or it is a necessity for them to finish the project because the deadline is tomorrow. In here, we call it a requirement. Now, let's compare obligation to requirement. Girls, which one is more official, obligation or requirement? Yes, the answer is obligation. So, both obligation and requirement are something important that we need to do. But obligation focuses more on the law agreement or the rules that make us do something. So, the key point of obligation is that it makes us do something. Next, I want to introduce 2 modal verbs to express obligation and necessity. They are must and have to. What are the differences between them? Now, I have 2 sentences for you. The first one, I must write a letter to Jane, said Eric. And the second one, I have to write a letter to Jane, said Eric. Girls, I want you to compare these 2 sentences and think about these 2 questions. The first question, who has decided to write the letter? The second question, who thinks it is necessary to write the letter? In the first sentence, it is Eric who has decided to write the letter, and it is also Eric who thinks it is necessary to write the letter. Therefore, when we use must, it means that the speaker has decided that he needs to write a letter to Jane. Nobody else has told him to write it. The speaker thinks it is necessary to do it. In the second sentence, it is somebody else who has decided to write the letter. And it is also somebody else who thinks it is necessary to write the letter. Therefore, when we use have to, it means that the speaker didn't decide to write a letter. Somebody else has told him to write it. And somebody else told the speaker it is necessary to do it. So, the first difference between must and have to is that must is used to express personal obligation when the speaker thinks it is necessary to do something. So, it is the speaker's duty to do something. However, we use have to express impersonal obligation when another person thinks it is necessary to do something. Now I have another 2 sentences for you. The first one, teacher said, you must complete the essay by Friday. The second sentence, students said, we have to complete the essay by Friday. Girls, Please compare these two sentences and think about this question. Who orders someone to do something? The answer is, the teacher orders the students to complete the essay. The teacher has used must because he or she has given the students an obligation. The teacher orders the students to complete the essay. And the students have used have to because somebody else, in this case the teacher, has made them complete the essay. The second difference between must and have to is that must is used when the speaker orders someone to do or not to do something. However, we use have to when the circumstances make it necessary for us to do something, or we have arranged to do it, or someone makes us do it. At last, let's compare the tenses. When we want to express present and future obligation, we can use modal verbs must, has, or have to. For example, it's late. I must go now. You have a cold. You have to stay at home and rest. However, when we want to express past obligation, we have to change the modal verbs to had to. For example, I had a lot of homework to do last night. I had to go to bed late. When we see the time adverbials last night, we have to use had to in order to express past obligation. Girls, please close your book. Let's do a practice together. In this practice, you have to choose the best answer to complete the following sentences. Sometimes it is possible to use either must or have to. You have 30 seconds to finish the practice, and then we'll check the answers together. Are you ready? Let's go! Now, let's check the answers together. Question 1. The answer is have to, because I have arranged to have breakfast with Anne. Question 2. The answer is must, because the teacher ordered the students to listen carefully. Question 3. The answer is has to, because Lucy's parents are making her return home by 10 p.m. Question 4. The answer is must, because it is our duty to defend freedom of speech. Question 5. You can either use must or have to. We use must because it is his or her duty to stay at home and rest since he or she has a cold. We can also use have to because the daughter or parents make him or her stay at home and rest. At last, let's make a brief conclusion. We use must to express personal obligation and have to express impersonal obligation. We use must when the speaker thinks it is his or her duty to do something, and we use have to when someone else thinks it is the speaker's duty to do something. We also use must when the speaker orders someone to do or not to do something, and we use have to when the circumstances make it necessary for us to do something, or we have arranged it to do it, or someone makes us do it. Girls, before watching the second video, please finish Grammar Practice 8 on page 205. That's the end of Unit 20.1. Thank you for your attention. See you. Bye.